Well, there you are from NASA, an animation there of curiosity on Mars. Sean didn't like that, and I've got the thumbs down on that one. I'm being encouraged to be more assiduous in the future when I choose my NASA animated videos for you, and I promise to do that, Sean. Sean, just keep your fingers on the buttons. Feargal, how are you? It's nice to see you.
Nice to see you, Rowan.
Feargal McCormack with news of the economy in bite-sized bits. I think that's all we can manage. You could give us huge feasts of the economy, but you're skillful. You bring it down to our level of understanding, and you're looking to the future today, because an event of some importance to thousands of young people is about to unfold across the land.
Yes, the A-level results are, as you know, Rowan, are due out this Thursday, and I think it's a really important time for our young people, and indeed our parents and our career teachers, to sit back and think. I think at times there has been a reluctance to move directly into business. Everything seems to be focused on going to university, and whilst going to university is good and it's a good life experience, it's not the only way to have a very successful business career. And you know, personally, in our own experience in accountancy, if I told you the truth, our most successful accountants have come to us direct from school after A-level.
That's because you get your hands on them earlier and you mould them into your way of thinking.
Yeah, and
you give them the disciplines they need.
Yeah, and because basically accountancy is one of those professions that you don't need a university degree, and actually if you go the other route and you're very committed, now I have to say that we had two people placed in the exams in Ireland at different times, and both those people probably would have got first class honours, but they chose not to go to university. And in the current environment of student fees, of housing costs, etc., I think this is a time for people to think back. And university is very good, but it's not the only option. And I think that there are very exciting. I see, for example, I see even 2 or 3 of our local companies at present advertising, and I know FPM will be in the paper this Thursday.
There's yourselves, there's First Derivatives, there's Norbrook, all wanting people in there. Teleperformance in there, everybody wants.
So my advice is that education must always continue, but there are various forms of education, and working and educating at the same time can be probably the best one of all, because you get work experience. Now, what you lose out on is the social experience of university, perhaps.
There are many social experiences, dear boy.
Well, what I'm really trying to say is I think that the world has changed, and I think that because of communications, because of transport, etc., that young people, they can address that issue without necessarily having to go to university. They can create, I'm sure, a social life that they can enjoy and have plenty of friends. A lot of them are now travelling. I mean, you see the buses going up from here every morning to university.
Yeah.
You know, if they're doing that, then a lot of the advantage of university social life disappears.
Yeah.
So to the point I would be arguing is, if that's the so-called dream, and I don't like criticising, but I think part of the reason here is I think our careers teachers are not aware of the really exciting business opportunities there are. For people.
But you see, very often with teachers, you've got people first of all in life who were pupils. Pupils became students. Students became undergraduates. Undergraduates became teachers, and they remained in the classroom. They're not very often, not always, there are exemplary teachers out there, but very, very often the teacher ethos is teaching, getting them into university, and whatever happens 3 years down the road with all kinds of degrees and whatever, mostly of the arts variety. That's a fish to be fried in another day.
Well, I think there's two things. I think actually, to be fair, we're fortunate in the quality of our schools and teachers in the area. However, the easier option is to look at the flyer that comes in from university and look at UCA forms and all this. What I'm really saying here is that if I'm being genuinely honest and stand back, some of the most successful people I deal with and have had the fortune to work with didn't necessarily go to university. They've done the opposite. They've continued to enhance their knowledge, to enhance their education, to work during the day, to study at night time. But those people ultimately, because they're combining practical experience with educational knowledge and technology know-how, those people ultimately can go to the top quicker. So really, if one is ambitious and have set their lifestyle and what they want to do, I think now is the time to think. And even if you get the most super results, one of the people, to be honest with you, that came to us got first in all in Ireland in maths and science, and decided they didn't want to go to university. That person went on to become first in Ireland in exams, in accountancy exams. Now, what I'm saying to you is, it's not for everybody, but certainly I do stress, I think we need to get hung up we do not need to get hung up exactly with results.
Yeah.
And secondly, whenever we get results, even the fabulous results,
Yeah.
please just pause before you get on that bus to university and say, do I know what I want to do?
Yeah.
Is this the quickest way to get there? Is this the best way to get there? Or are there alternatives? Can I start to make a difference immediately?
It's about a broadness of mind, a breadth of vision. It's about also, you know, obviously if you're going to be a space scientist or a brain surgeon or a dentist, you need to go to the university that will teach you those things. You're not going to learn those at the knee of the master.
And that's why there's no unique solution here. What I'm saying is one needs to just, what I'm asking people to do on Thursday is to take a step back. If they want to be a doctor, or a brain surgeon, or an astronaut, there's no doubt about it. That's a straightforward one. That should be the university. But if, to be honest with you, they want to go into to areas like business, like accountancy, those type of areas, there are other. I can tell you the quickest way to become a chartered accountant actually is to go direct into an office after A levels. You can actually be a chartered accountant quicker than the guy who gets a first class honours in accountancy at Queen's.
Yeah. The thing about that progression. It's healthy. It allows. You see, the thing, you don't grow an entrepreneurial spirit in Queen's University. You have it as a consequence of mingling with like-minded people and exposing yourself to the growth medium that is business.
Well, I think there's, all degrees are life experience, and I for one, I'm not knocking university life. I think it's very good and it's important in certain, but it's not the only way. And I think the importance is, as one who interviews a lot of people looking for jobs, you're always looking for differentiation. You're always looking for leadership skills. You're always looking for the team player as opposed to the solo player, me. You're looking for the giver as opposed to the taker. Now, no matter what one wants to do in life, if one is not astute enough to realize I've got to differentiate myself, because we need leaders and not sheep, or shepherds and not sheep. And the bottom line is, really, that's down to the individual. I think leadership starts with vision for self, but it ultimately ends with vision for community and country. And if you can't ultimately see that, and one of the most frustrating things is to interview people that are geniuses, but they're geniuses because all they did was study. And unfortunately, that is not what's required in the workplace. Whether that be in a hospital, whether it be in an airplane, the reality is we must have communication skills. We must have people skills. Yes, we must have technical knowledge, but we have to mix them all. It's a balance.
You see, I know this thing because within the last 2 decades, I was approached by the University of Ulster to be the lead player in their postgraduate newspaper journalism course. I had never graduated in anything in my life because I wanted to do exactly what you're talking about, to get out there and to engage with things that interested me.
Well, if you look even at some of the most successful businessmen, if you look at Martin Naughton, what he did was he went and did a degree, but he purposely chose not the high, he chose somewhere near to what he wanted to do in England originally because he thought he would get an industrial experience. He then came back. If you look at Dennis O'Brien, an amazing case again, watch very carefully what these guys did. What he did was he decided, rather than do postgrad, he decided that all of a sudden he would write to Tony Ryan and see could he become his PA free. Now this was such an unusual suggestion at the time. Ryan looked at this and said, "Hey, I don't know who this fella is. Let him come up here." Now, where did Dennis O'Brien learn his greatest learning curve? The 12 months he spent as PA. You have other people who have done that to Smurfit. If you look at actually the current chief executive of Ryanair, he did the same thing. So there are different ways. There's no unique way, but certainly the person who thinks outside the box. Outside the box is the way to do it. And unfortunately, a lot of university graduates are graduating into unemployment, and that's the sadness of it. But and there are all kinds of situations in the open market. Scholarships to America. You've got the Rooney Fellowship out there, opportunities for networking, opportunities to say to the king, look, I want to shine your throne for a year, doing it free of charge, isn't the way you've just explained. Things can happen and can actually place you outside the box. It comes back to differentiation. It comes back to, do I want to go and work in the summer? Do I want an internship, or do I want to lie in my bed? Or do I want to tour the world? if you want to tour the world, that's fantastic. It's great experience, but maybe you should apply for a world tour guide. But you can't tour the world for 2 or 3 years and then think the world owes you a job. The reality is, if you're sitting in front of an employer, you have one question: why me? Why should this person offer me a job? And to be honest with you, if I've taken the lazy options, or what I call the me options, then it's a lot harder to convince the person on the other side of the table that you're the team player they want.
Does someone lose you when they come to you for an interview? Do they lose you in the first couple of paragraphs of the curriculum vitae?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I think that quite often when you get to an interview stage, the academic has already got you into that stage. I personally go straight away to the extracurricular activities. I'm not looking for somebody that plays football or plays golf. I'm looking for somebody who manages a team, who's involved in St Vincent de Paul, who's running the chess club. I don't really give a damn what it is, but I want to see a captain, I want to see a leader, I want to see a secretary, I want to see a treasurer, I want to see a youth leader, I want to see somebody who's decided to do something different, not necessarily for themselves, but for other people. And the reason I want to see that is that I could be wrong on this, but I believe most business is about caring, is about helping people. If you don't help people outside work, you're not going to help them in work. So literally, no matter if you're the greatest genius in the world, if you can't get your culture, if you can't get your DNA to communicate, to understand people, to help people, then I believe you're wasting your time. And therefore, in my belief, you never sell, you help. But if in the course of helping, it's amazing the amount of business that follows.
But where did this come from in you? Because I remember an early essay at the Abbey School that you did, and it addressed these things. What was the seedbed of growth that brought you to these conclusions?
Well, I don't know about that, but I don't know how you were aware of that, but that's right. Whenever I was 12, virtually a lot of what I'm saying now, I wrote in a
I remember it.
But the reality is, I obviously one's parents, and you know, you have to work back from the extremes. To be fair, my father and mother gave me a great start in life, but they were perhaps on one extreme in that they didn't appreciate education, and I think in hindsight that wasn't totally right, because I think it's important that you do appreciate it. My father used to say, so long as you have a personality, you'll always get a good job.
But he still made sure you went to university.
Oh yeah, and I went,
you took yourself through.
So I think the balance is, I think you do need education, but I think you need it in balance. I must say I get very frustrated when I hear particularly mothers saying, you know, oh, the exams are over now, I can enjoy a few weeks in the summer. The pressure they've been putting their kids under is phenomenal. And I think really that's unfortunate. I think that really exams are important. We've all had to go through them, but I think there needs to be balance. I can't, for example, understand somebody cancelling a tennis game or a football match because there's exams in 2 weeks. I just don't understand that. That can't be. If we've got into that mentality, we've got it wrong.
It used to be, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, we saw this kind of attitude and practice. In Japan, it was the way. Children were almost fastened to desks and made to study, and if they didn't study, it was time for awful action to be taken.
Well, I think extremism...
We've got there now.
Well, extremism and anything, and I think it's not unfair, it's unfair to single out education, because education has been very good to us, and there is no doubt that, you know, our current circumstances don't determine where we can go, they only determine where we can start. And the greatest way to move forward is education. So I think it's very important that this is not misinterpreted, that we're not saying that education isn't important. Education is very important, but it's in the balance. But what I'm simply saying is that personally, in my opinion, that you have to have the balance in terms of education, life skills, and none of us has anything. None of us has all of it, and we're all learning every day, and we all make mistakes. But you know, Ronan, the person who never made a mistake never got there.
What about the new hotel out the Belfast Road? It's going to be built. 12 million.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I'm not totally familiar with it because I was away at the time. But obviously, anything that creates employment and opportunities is good. I think that it's an ambitious project and needs thought out a bit, to be honest with you. I think that buildings are one thing, hotels are very risky if one looks at them very carefully, if one looks at the NAMA situation. The one industry they have more businesses in than any other business sector is the hotel sector. And therefore the reason that is, if you think about it, you incur virtually 80% or 90% of your costs up front.
Mm.
You have to build the infrastructure. You could have a 10 to 15-year payback period. Now, you can put in the discos and everything else to generate your revenue, and that's important. That keeps you going.
It's a lot.
But unless you can put in massive cash capital as opposed to purely debt finance, you put an hotel under major risk the first 3 years. So, to be upfront about it,
we hope it's going to
We
go.
wish every venture well, and it will go. But I think that one has to be careful.
It's a tough one.
That hotels are required, but they also need to be very carefully thought out. And hopefully this one will work.
Okay, is that you?
Well,
We'll see you next week, shall we?
we look forward to seeing you next Tuesday
Why do I
morning.
see a sort of an Alan Sugar figure coming through you here, and people
Well-
presenting themselves to you?
Well, I think there's two different things there, Rowan. We have to be very careful. I'm only an accountant in Newry trying to help people and
Yeah.
to make a little bit of money. I realise I have made many mistakes in life, and no doubt will make more in the future. But the difference is it'll not be for lack of trying.
Good on you. Take care. All the best.
Thanks,
Sean,
Sean.
some music, please.